In 2023, a retired couple from Ohio paid $1.2 million for a beachfront condo in Miami. They'd spent 40 years building equity, following the blueprint: work hard, buy a house, retire in paradise. They thought they'd won. But something was happening behind the scenes that nobody told them about. Insurance companies were quietly running the numbers, and what they found terrified them so much that major carriers simply walked away. They stopped selling new policies in Florida. They canceled existing ones. They left. By the time our retired couple realized what was happening, it was too late. Let's rewind. Over the last 15 years, Florida became America's retirement promised land. Every financial advisor recommended it. Every YouTube channel praised it. 2 million people moved there in a decade, convinced they'd found affordable housing and eternal sunshine. Miami, Tampa, Naples, entire communities were built specifically to lure retirees with the guarantee of low taxes and beach living. What they didn't mention was that Florida sits at the edge of a climate catastrophe that's already begun. The state has the longest coastline of any mainland state. Most of the population lives within 10 miles of the ocean, and the ocean is rising, faster now than at any point in recorded history. The NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, tracks something called sunny day flooding. It's not a storm, it's not heavy rain, it's just high tides pushing water into streets, parking lots, and basements on perfectly clear days. It happens now, every month. In Miami Beach alone, sunny day flooding happens on average 150 days a year now. In 2000, it happened 0 days a year. That's not a trend, that's an exponential curve. But here's what really changed the game. The insurance crisis hit. In 2022, the largest insurer in Florida, Heritage Insurance, collapsed under claims. State Farm stopped writing new policies, then Homeowners Choice, then United Insurance. By 2024, over 30 insurance companies had exited the Florida market, completely abandoned it. Now, 80% of Florida homeowners are being forced into the state's insurer of last resort. It's basically a government bailout for homeowners who can't find anyone else to cover them. And that pool is drowning in claims it can't afford to pay. Let's talk about what this means for someone like our retired couple. They bought their condo for $1.2 million. Here's what they actually pay now. Mortgage and principal, roughly $5,400 a month. But then comes the tsunami. Homeowners insurance, which was $1,200 a year when they bought, is now $8,000 a year, sometimes $15,000. Some people are paying $20,000. That's $1,200 to $1,600 a month just for insurance on property they already own. Add property taxes. On a $1.2 million home, that's another $10,000 a year, about $833 a month. Then flood insurance, another $3,000 to $5,000 per year. HOA fees, often $400 to $800 per month. Maintenance and repairs, especially in coastal conditions where salt accelerates corrosion. They came to retire. Instead, they're paying $3,000 to $3,500 per month just to keep the property insured and taxed, and that's before a hurricane hits. Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The property is becoming unsellable. Because here's the problem. If you wanted to sell your Florida condo tomorrow, who would buy it? Another retiree maybe, but they'd need insurance. And insurance companies know what you know now, that the property is increasingly risky. Property values in coastal Florida have stopped appreciating. In some neighborhoods, they're falling. The median home price in Miami Beach peaked in 2022 and has been treading water ever since. Meanwhile, flood insurance rates are being rewritten every year. The NOAA runs the National Flood Insurance Program because private insurers won't touch flood risk anymore. And it keeps raising its rates because it's losing money on a sinking peninsula. A homeowner in a high-risk flood zone could be paying $8,000 to $15,000 a year in flood insurance alone. The math stops working. At a certain point, the cost of keeping the property exceeds the value of the property itself. And that's when people start realizing they're trapped. They can't sell, they can't walk away, and they can't stay forever. This is the wealth transfer nobody talks about. Retirees came to Florida to preserve their life savings. Instead, they're watching those savings evaporate into insurance premiums and taxes. By 2035, sea levels in South Florida are projected to rise another 8 inches. That might not sound like much, but on an already saturated coastline, it changes everything. A 100-year flood becomes a 50-year flood. A 50-year flood becomes a 10-year flood. Sunny day flooding could hit more than 200 days a year in some neighborhoods. Insurance companies have already priced this in. That's why they're leaving. What you're watching is the beginning of the end for coastal Florida retirement. Not in 2050, not in 2040, now. Younger home buyers are already avoiding Florida. Investors are buying up cheap coastal land, betting on future recovery, but individual retirees are stuck. For the next 2 decades, Florida will experience a slow-motion real estate collapse. Not a crash, something worse. A grinding, relentless squeeze where property values decline, insurance costs rise, and liquidity disappears. The last people to realize this will be the ones still sitting in their oceanfront condos, asking themselves, "How did I not see this?" What's happening in Florida isn't about bad luck or poor planning. It's about how quickly an assumption that waterfront property is always valuable can become obsolete when the environment changes. Insurance companies aren't stupid. They're just reading the data faster than the market. For millions of retirees already living in Florida, that realization is coming. The question isn't whether it's coming. The question is, are they ready for it?